Hello. I thought I would do a tarot reading today because I'm practicing, still learning a lot. And this one, instead of doing it for myself, I thought I would do it for humanity. I know that's a very big group of people, but I thought, why not? So what I did is I did a 3-card spread, past, present, and future. And I first gleaned what my instinct told me. And because, again, I'm still learning and there's maybe lots of little nuances and details that I'm not quite yet picking up, which is fine because we all have to start somewhere. I probably could relay the whole of the meaning of what I got from the meaning in about a minute. So there wasn't a lot of flowery language. But what then I did do is then go to my references. I've got, again, some online references that I use, and I also have the guidebook that comes with the tarot. And then I kind of glean some more from it. But what I find is each time I do that, it actually adds a little bit more knowledge to, what I've got in my brain reserves. The deck I have is called the Mystic Fairy Tarot. Don't know where I got the box. There we go, the box. I use the Mystic Fairy Tarot, which I really like. It's my first tarot deck. I've got oracle decks, but it's my first tarot deck. And I really like it. I resonated with it. I didn't pick it in a shop. I think that's the best way probably to shop for a tarot deck is to go into an actual store and have a look around and get a feel for it and have a look at it and hold the cards and hold the box and see what appeals to you. However, because the nearest kind of metaphysical shop is in London and it's a long way to go just for a pack of cards, I ordered them online earlier this year. And I'm not unhappy with them at all. They're brilliant. I love them. They're beautiful. The artwork's beautiful. I like fairies, so I love it. But I feel maybe a different deck might have been good for a starting point in learning tarot. And actually somebody did recommend looking at another deck. And what I find I do sometimes is when I'm trying to understand a card, if I get stuck, because the artwork is a little challenging for me to figure out, I will then look at the artwork online of this other deck. It's called the Rider-Waite, which is basically the standard tarot deck where the first person that did it did the Rider-Waite deck, and that's what I normally start with to have a look at the description there, because there's a lot more imagery, there's a lot more detail, and sometimes I can pick up things looking at that than I can from the fairy card, and it'll all come in time. I'm not worried about it. I'm not panicking that I don't always understand it all at once, because it will happen. So anyway, I did a 3-card draw, past, present, future for humanity. And so the first card that I picked was past, and what I came up with was the Queen of Pentacles. Now you can't really read it because my camera is not really great, but it's the Queen of Pentacles. And what I got from that is just from my own intuition is, so the Queen is about a very feminine energy, and the way she's sitting, her posture, she's sitting towards the future, because we consider the West past and the East future. So she's sitting kind of towards the future, but she's looking kind of ahead, so she's not quite completely looking at the future. But I get a feeling that, so if I apply this to humanity and I look at it in the past place, and the Queen of Pentacles, Pentacles has to do with creativity, material wealth, it could do with money. I kind of get the feel of it for myself is that, so in the past, traditionally, human beings were very creative. We were very inspired. If we wanted to do something, we just did it. We didn't have all that kind of negative talk in our brains telling us we can't do it. We didn't lack the confidence as we do now. So we probably acted more from our hearts than our heads when we wanted to try something. And that's also, the Queen is very much in tune with her feminine side. So I get the impression, if I look at it from a point of humanity in the past, I would say that we were probably a lot more creative in the past, and we a lot more intuitive, and she looks relaxed too. I would say we had a very relaxed existence as well, that we were able to have the time to just sit down in the woodland and daydream and just be. That life was easier. That's another thing I'm feeling about it. So that's what I got from it, looking at it. And then I also looked at the guidebook to glean a little bit more, and actually that was really helpful. So the one resource says that the Queen of Pentacles is a quintessential artist or craft person. She's perfect balance of technical skill and creative innovation. Whatever she tries, you can be certain she will be good at it. She tries lots of things. When she finds that thing that delights her hands and enchants her imagination, she will be brilliant. So that's quite nice, because that's how I see that where we've come from, that we were probably more in tune with nature. We live more in closer to the earth. We live more in close communities. I mean, modern life is all about kind of distancing people. We all live, separate in little apartments or flats or whatever. And I mean, it's kind of a known thing that in most towns, it's not abnormal to not know everyone that's living in your flats, your block of flats. It's also not abnormal to not know everybody that lives on your street. So it just really resonates. So if I go back to one of my resources, and this gives me a little bit more detail, which I really liked. It talks about the Queen of Pentacles is nurturing, practical, providing, financially, working parent. And this talks about more about in the material world of being able to have a balance of work, the needs of work, home, and family, and giving love and support to everyone that she cares about. And this just talks about having a really good balance between home and work life, and all the things that you need to do, but all the things you want to do. And there was a time where making a living was easier for humans. We live closer to the earth, and I think that communities were more local, whereas now we're more of a global community. I mean, you pay taxes into the pot, but it goes to some sort of national fund. We have a national government rather than localized government. So although I'm paying to get roads fixed, I may not see it around in my local community. So it talks to me about how we used to live and having more of a balance in life, and that we were probably more nourished in ourselves, but nourishing those around us that we loved. So that's really a nice description of what I see that our past was. So then I went to the next card. So the next card that I chose, which is our present, is the Five of Swords. And swords has to do with intellect. And the Five of Swords, well, fives have to do with conflict or change. And the swords, as I say, have to do with intellect. So what I'm feeling, so my original feelings from the card is, because in the picture we've got the two fairies that are they're discussing. They don't look like they're arguing just yet. Maybe they do go to arguing, I don't know. But they look like they're discussing. They don't look happy, but they look like they're trying to discuss something and come to some sort of conclusion or resolution. So there's a conflict. So Five of Swords basically means there's a conflict, and that it's wise to choose your battles. So there might be 100 battles coming your way or our way. So this is a reading for humanity. It might be 100 battles that are coming our way, but we need to choose the ones we feel are worth it, because whatever side we take, whatever we argue for or fight or whatever, that will come back to us. Obviously, we create some sort of karmic pattern. So just ensure that we pick our battles, and that we pick them with truth and integrity, and with our heart in the right place, because it may come back to us at some point. We may have to have some repercussions from it. So it really resonated with what's going on in the world now, because there is lots of division and lots of conflict, and it really made sense to me. And another resource I had, it said about fives also signifies change. It could be change in status, change of heart, or fine-tuning of things. Change could bring conflict and a bit of misery, but it also brings hope. So although there might be a lot of misery right now because of the change, because of the conflict, because of all the unknowing that's going on, it could also bring a hope for us as a collective. So then when I go to my resources and get a bit more detail, that was really helpful for me. This just says sometimes the only way to figure out what to do is to go over it thoroughly, considering every angle. Asking questions. This is very helpful as well. Asking questions to find the right answer. So this is a good time for each of us to not only pick our battles, but to ask a lot of questions so that we can determine what we feel about a certain side or point or thing that we're going through. And then also in the Five of Swords, reading another resource, it says it turns up when we've had a falling out or a disagreement. So this makes perfect sense with the world right now, because there's lots of chaos. There's lots of choosing of sides right now. There's lots of conflict. There's lots of disagreement. But it's just basically telling us, I believe, that to ask a lot of questions. I think not only to find what resonates with our own heart, but also to understand the other person that we're in conflict with. Because at the end of the day, humanity doesn't need to stay in conflict. We need to eventually come together. So I think asking questions is a very important thing to find out why someone else doesn't maybe agree or align with your way of thinking. But also it's interesting because it's reading the other resource talking about that this could also be a sign of hope. So yes, there's a lot of conflict and change, but then there will be some hope, and we know that we will move on from it, because it's a minor arcana. Well, Five of Swords is minor, which means it's a minor life event. And okay, this current chaos might last for a couple of years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, we don't know, but it's not a major thing. It's a hiccup. Yes, it's going to be quite chaotic, and there'll be heated arguments and things, but as long as we pick the right battles for our own heart and we ask the questions to try and understand people, then we should move through it. There's hope that we will move through to the other side. So, and also one of the things here, which I thought was a really lovely sentiment as well, is it says if you've been engaged in a conflict and if it's taking its toll, whether on you or whether on the other party, it says the Five of Swords is an invitation to apologize. So we don't need to brood over something. If we disagree with someone because of whatever is going on, then it's a good idea that at some point we make amends, because we want to have that peace in our heart. So that's a really good message right there. And then the last card, which I picked, which would be to do with the future, is the Justice card. And the Justice card is a major arcana, meaning it's a major life event. So whatever we're going into will be a major change, a major thing. My initial thing when looking at the card is her body is facing towards the future. So it's to the east, to the dawn. So we think the sun rises in the east. So her body is facing towards the east, which is telling me towards the future. She's got the scales there, which are in balance. So it's about, I believe, being in balance between the masculine and feminine energies, and also being in balance about what is right. The sword indicates, so sword can be double-edged, meaning that either side or either choice, if there's a decision, there's consequences involved in it. So we have to be prepared that when we pick our side, that we are happy to align with those consequences. And that she's got eye covering on, which is telling me that she is blind to maybe anything that's false, that because sometimes what you see with your eyes might be an illusion. So she's relying on the truth and the justice to come from her inner being and her intuition. So that was a very good card. And what I feel with it is that, because especially also I see in the background, and I know the camera's not great, is the sky is very bright. There's like brightness around the sword as well, but the sky is very bright and sunny, which is telling me that the future is going to be bright, and that justice will be done in the right way, and it will be to the benefit of humanity. So that's what I gleaned from it myself. And then when I looked at my guidebook and got a little bit more detail, this basically says that we need to understand our power and our responsibility. If we're wondering why we're facing a situation, we need to look to the past actions, which in this case would be what is now the present. So the conflict. Did we choose our battles carefully? Did we act out of places of love and our own good in intentions? Are we being shouty just to be shouty? And when we need to make amends, are we apologizing? Because sometimes it's better to just make peace than to be right. Because at the end of the day, we all die. That is a given. We all die, all of us. And whatever your belief in a God, a creator, the universe, whatever, and I know some people don't believe in anything, but I would say a vast majority of people believe in something. We all have to meet our maker at some point. So what kind of love, intention, and what do we want to bring in our heart to meet our maker? And if you ask anybody on their deathbed what they want, I would imagine a lot of people would say, if you talk about like making peace, probably a lot of people say they wish they'd made more peace, that peace was more important than being right. Just a thought. I don't know. I haven't talked to everybody on their deathbed, but I'll let you know whenever I do it. But this is just talks about if you can see how you brought yourself to this place of needing justice, perhaps you can find a way to balance the karma. If you're facing a decision, consider future ramifications and choose actions wisely, carefully, make a bed you will be happy to sleep in. So I really loved that description. And then my final resource that I looked online, well, actually not final, because there was another one here about the justice card is about balance, duality, and choices. And then the last message I have here for justice talked about the description. I quite like the sword points upwards, expressing a firm and final decision. The double-edged blade signifies our actions always carry consequences. The scales show intuition must balance logic in an impartial environment. That's really good. I like that description. And then what is it? It says it represents justice, fairness, truth, and the law. You're being called to account for your actions and will be judged accordingly. If we have acted in alignment with our higher self and for a greater good of humanity, then we have nothing to worry about. However, if you haven't, you will be called out and made to own up to your actions. So all of us are going to be made to be held accountable for anything that goes on during the present, which is now in the chaos. Are we acting out of integrity? Are we just being mean to be mean? Are we calling people names just because it helps our ego? I don't know. But every action has a consequence. So the justice card was really good to me in about humanity, basically we all have to face our stuff, whatever we are doing right now, and that we we'll all face the justice of the consequences of whatever decision we made, meaning the double-edged sword. And everything will become back in balance again. That's what I believe. Anyway, that's just me. Like I said, it's not completely me. I've used references, so I will, give kudos to them. Right now, I couldn't do it without those. But what I'm finding is I am able to glean something from the cards, even if all it is just 2 words. I can look at a card and I'm getting something. And that's why I need the practice. So that's why I thought I would do this little video today. And I just got in the post just this morning a new card. So what I would like to do also is maybe mix up the cards a bit. So I've got some oracle decks and then I've got my tarot decks. So I think what I might do is do some oracle card readings as well. Again, help me practice. And there's only so many cards I can pick for myself. I got so much stuff to work on. If every day I pick a different tarot card, I've got, endless amounts of things to do. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. This has been fabulous. I am so thankful to the deck and to my guides for helping me have a successful drawing where I was able to start tapping into some of my intuition there. Thanks very much for listening and have a blessed day wherever you are on the earth plane. Namaste.